This one is going to be called The Eighth Man. It's written in 18th November 2013 by Chris Holland. I was so excited. I hadn't ever really gone camping before, so the fact that one of my friends asked me to go with him was amazing and is bad in and of itself. You had plans for 5 other guys to join us as well. The plan was to leave right after classes on Friday evening and drive up to an old abandoned farmhouse, which in Kansas they aren't too uncommon. This one was special though, or so I was told by Riley, my friend that invited me. He said not only was the house quite large and well held together after many years of vacancy, but very few people knew about it, so we were almost certain to be unbothered for the weekend. You would stay all day and Saturday and come back Sunday morning. At about 6 p.m, the last guy, Seth, I think, finally arrived at the cars. He had a white Suburban for Riley and a small Honda van. 4 people rode in the van while 3 rode in the Suburban, but the Suburban was also full of all of our junk we planned to bring. We left by around 6:30 until for nearly an hour before stopping at some burger place to eat a quick supper and shift drivers. After another 2 hours drive, we arrived at the farmhouse. The farm area was large, empty, and the fence that used to surround it was in shambles. The house, however, was very nice, almost kept. After unpacking most of our things and laying our blankets on the bed frames still in the house, someone suggested we turn in early so we could go fishing in the morning. Not being a late night person, I was fine with the idea, and after some work, I got everyone else to agree with me. There were only 3 beds in each of the 2 rooms, so me, Riley, and some other guy I'd never met shared one room, and 3 other guys shared the other. A guy named Roy decided to take the torn-up couch down the stairs. I had a bit of trouble falling asleep, a bit uneasy about the whole after the abandoned house thing, but I eventually dozed off, unable to stay awake any longer. I woke up with the sound of Riley moving all this crap around. When I was able to open my eyes enough to see my phone screen with the time on it, it was just after 6:30, so I had to hurry if I wanted to catch anything. I rolled out of my bed, grabbed some jeans and a jacket, changed as quickly as I could despite my exhaustion, and grabbed one of the 3 remaining fishing rods. When I got to the pond, Roy, Riley and 2 other guys were there. I'd cast my line and sat silently, waking up with the rest of them. Over the next hour or so, the other 2 people made their way to the pond, and everyone had woken up a bit more and were chatting about their restless nights. "So, which one of you ideas decided to come down the stairs last night?" Voice shouted over the other voices. I was expecting for someone to laugh and give some excuse, but nobody even flinched. "You're not in any trouble, but I was too dark for me to see your face. Whoever it was, so for my curiosity, who the hell was it?" Minutes went by with Roy just staring at our faces for any sign of conceal. I decided to speak up to try and figure out who it was. "What did they come down for, or did they sleep down there?" "I don't know. You didn't say anything. I was too tired, so I just dozed back off." "Well, what did they do?" I asked. "I told you I was tired. All I know was that I saw someone come downstairs, look at me, and then I fell back asleep." In fear of getting hit, I held back further questions. On the positive note of that, Roy packed up and everyone else followed. The fishing was good and we had plenty to eat for today and tonight. We walked back to the fields in front of the farmhouse, let off our jackets and ran out again. Roy had dug up an old frisbee, so we divided into 2 teams and quite sloppily, so that we were an uneven 4 against 3. "Jerry, how you doing, buddy? Just reading some stories, mate. Had a very productive day of hiding inside a bin and digging holes. How about yourself?" So just tell some stories. This one's I believe it might be a creature story.
Yeah, feature story. Okay.
We played for maybe an hour, when we switched to baseball. Then some guys started playing poker on the grass and I sat out. Somebody that never met called Joel, I think that was his name, came out and sat next to me on the porch steps. Why didn't anyone wake me up? He had asked, clearly irritated. I woke up almost and still beat 2 people to the fishing, plus you made it anyway, I responded. I just woke up half an hour ago, his irritated tone now turning to confusion. Shut up. You went fishing with us, and I know sure as hell you went playing Ultimate Frisbee with us. My tone was clearly angry. I'm telling you, just woke up. Didn't even know you played Frisbee. Well, there were 7 people fishing, and teams were 4 on. I stopped dead in my own words. Did you ever go downstairs earlier last night? I quickly asked. No, I was out as soon as I hit the bed. I've been up late the last. I stood up and started walking away in the middle of the sentence. Counted the people around the yard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Myself is 7. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw a faint shadow near the tree-like bit. When I turned, the figure had walked off. Wasting no time, I jogged to Roy. I need to talk to you. Try not to alarm the rest of my news. Okay, speak. Again, wanting to waste no time about. I think there's someone else on this farm. He turned to look me dead in the eyes and shot up from his seat on the grass and dragged me to the Honda van. And what the fuck are you basing this on? He questioned. Think about it. Someone came downstairs last night. Everyone says it isn't them. So, they could be alive for some reason. I just talked to Joe, he just woke up. You idiot. There was 7 people fishing. He stopped abruptly. And after a long silence, he continued. There was a face I didn't recognize in that group. He scoffed while staring at nothing. Without a second hesitation, he climbed into the back of the Honda and emerged again seconds later with a pistol in his hands. What the hell? Why do you have that? I was afraid this had happened. They're probably thieves, so we should be careful. Let everyone know what you told me and keep a sharp eye out. This could be dangerous. I walked back and made the announcement and counted heads again. We had 7 people right now. Good 7 people. With the sun setting and cold setting in, Roy and a friend of his built a fire in a stone pit that was already built. After cooking some fish and everyone munching silently, Roy grabbed me and led me to the van again. He handed me a 6-pack of beer and carried another in his hands. I've never drank much, so after a few sips I was done. The remaining people, they were at various levels of drunkenness. When Joel suggested capture the flag, I headed off to the Suburban to grab the flashlights, and when I got back, everyone was lined up. Handing off 1 flashlight to each person, I ran out before the last person. I ran back to the cars and searched for the last one. I know Boy 7, but being unable to find it, and concluding that I had lost it, I walked back to the group. Now I noticed everyone had a flashlight. Confused, I looked to the guy that was the south one where I left and asked him where he got it. Some kid handed it to me, he drunkenly responded. Who? Where did they go? I had a sense of real urgency in my voice. He handed it to me and then he ran into the forest. His eyes lit up when he realized what he had said. I told him to keep quiet and stay calm, but before I knew it, we were playing the game and not even searching for the extra person anyway. It wasn't but a few hours before people began ticking off one by one to go to bed, and I was next to last to turn in. I didn't even change clothes, I just walked into the room and flopped in on my bed, and before I knew I was dead asleep. I have no idea what time it was. I woke up to something dropping and hitting my face. Gazed into the ceiling and noticed a fine leak, and of course it was pouring rain outside. I turned to cover up the side of my head, but when I did, I noticed the bedroom door open. There was someone standing there in the doorframe as if they were walking in and shutting the door behind them, but froze mid-motion. Who's there? I shouted to Leslie enough to make sure my roommates heard. and maybe lingered for 2 seconds before it bolted. I had something on the stairs than the front door swinging open. I flew accident that poured away, knowing with the signs I had been far outrun. I headed back in, shivering, not only because of the cold, and bolted the front door shut. Everyone stared at me. Whatever it is, it's out, so as long as the doors and windows are shut and locked, we're safe. Tried to reassure everyone. I seemed to be the only one capable of speaking. After a few long minutes, of thought, me and Roy looked at each other. The back door, we said in complete unison. We ran to the kitchen, but only in time to hear it slam shut. Now, we didn't know where it was. It was only a few short seconds of staring when a scream came from the second bedroom upstairs. I was the first one up and froze at the doorway. It was leaning over Joel. It turned to saw me and lunged out the window. Roy darted past me into Joel, laying lifeless on the bed, blood dripping from his throat. I ran to Seth, who was completely curled up in a corner, still spewing. Fairly got him to shut up and tell me to hear Roy. We need to leave now. No one wasted any time at that, and everyone ran to the vehicles, scattered and frantic. I got in the car along with Rayleigh and Roy. A scream came from the house, and Roy immediately ran out back to the house, gun drawn. I skated the driver's seat and stared out the window. After minutes, I had 3 gunshots, then saw someone running towards the Suburban. I took out my flashlight and shined it to see Roy's pale face and empty hands. I shined the light to reveal the silhouette chasing him with a gun in one hand. I shined my light right on it, but saw no face, no features. It was still a shadow. When I saw the light, it turned to me and began running at me. I slammed my foot on the brake and the car ground to speed. After 10 minutes of driving in the dark, rainy fog, me and Riley, now the only ones in the Suburban, were stopped at the freeway. Riley wanted to keep going, but I was driving and I liked it to wait 5 minutes for them to come up. Minutes went by and I grew more anxious. It almost left, just before I saw a pair of headlights in the distance from the mirrors. It was definitely the van, and it was speeding right to us. It kept speeding and didn't stop. There was a sudden slam, and in my recovery, me and Riley heard the radio kick on. "You better drive." The voice was muffled, distorted. Riley and I screamed together as I stood on the gas. As we drove, the thing was constantly driving right behind us, riding a bumper, waiting for us to stop. A thought which didn't cross my mind until a low gas indicator started blowing off. "Listen, Riley, here's the plan." He turned anxious for ideas. "Thanks for the follow, by the way, Leo, much appreciated." In a few seconds, I'm going to slam the brake. Hold on, but quickly get out of the car, run into the woods. Once we get a safe distance, we'll loop around and get in the van, then we drive off, make sense? He does it quickly, and without a second thought, I pounded my foot on the brakes. We heard skidding behind us and took no time to be away into the thick forest. After several minutes, we decided it was about time to go back, so we circled round and ran back towards the freeway. When we arrived, both vehicles had doors all open and no sign of the creature that had been chasing us. We got in the van, shut the doors and began driving fast away from that horrible place. An hour into our drive, a new alarm started beeping. I looked at the dash, stopped the car and froze. Riley was jerked awake and stared at me. "Oh." I turned down slowly. The trunk is opening. So that one was The Eighth Man, written by Chris Hollins, and